Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I'm your host, Nick. Today is the day that we do this podcast, that we are fans. It's with my great pleasure to bring you a World Series recap. The Los Angeles Dodgers are World Series champions again. Yes, unbelievable. I can't believe I'm here today sitting down to recap a World Series, Game 7, that the Dodgers won. Unbelievable. So let me get all this stuff out of the way first. As always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick. And then you can follow us on Reddit as well at competitive-week8715. I don't even know where to begin. I think a good place to start would be with a recap. I will recap the game for those of you who didn't watch, but there's probably zero on the planet. I'm going to run through the game, and then I'm just going to talk about everything that happened. Before I get into all of it, this won't be any kind of season review or anything like that. I'm just going to try to talk about the game and just all that stuff that comes with it. Any other stuff, you know how there are so many narratives that come from winning the World Series, like dynasty talk. A lot of people talk about, are the Dodgers bad for baseball, the salary cap stuff, all that kind of stuff. Can the Dodgers three-peat? I'm going to save all that stuff for future pods. Maybe in a couple days when the Dodgers have their parade and stuff, then I'll do a pod kind of reflecting on the season and all that. But today is going to be about Game 7 and about them winning the World Series. So let's get right into the recap. Let's waste no time. So, as we all know, Game 7 of the World Series, Shohei Ohtani is on the mound. He is taking on the 41-year-old Max Scherzer. One game for the rest of our lives. So we skip ahead to the third inning. After a couple base runners, Shohei Ohtani at this point didn't have great command. A single from George Springer. Then eventually he intentionally walks Vladimir Guerrero with one out. That brings up Bo Bichette. And Bo Bichette, absolutely demolishes a hanging slider to dead center field for a 3-run homer. Rogers Center was absolutely rocking. I'll be honest, in the moment, it was looking like that was going to be the moment we replay all off season. So the Blue Jays go up 3-0. And of course, given where the Dodgers lineup has been all postseason pretty much, but definitely in the World Series and, just needing to show up, it was, pretty much just quickly decided this season, this World Series, everything is going to determine on it's going to be determined by if the offense can show up or not, because they are now down 3-0. So we go ahead to the fourth inning. In the fourth inning, Will Smith led off that inning with a double, a Freddie Freeman single. Mookie Betts would pop out for the first out, but after a Max Muncy walk, Teoscar Hernandez would line out to center. Dalton Varsho made an incredible catch, but it does go out down as a sac fly. So the Dodgers chip away. It's now 3-1. There were a couple amazing Blue Jay plays in this game. Again, it wasn't looking too great. A lot of the momentum and everything was on the Blue Jays side, and just they were, playing really well. So eventually Shohei is out of the game. Like I said, it is at a 3-1 game. Later in the sixth inning, a Mookie Betts walk to start the inning. Max Muncy singles. A couple batters later, Tommy Edman would hit a sac fly, also hit to center field. So it's now a 3-2 game. So the Dodgers are chipping away. It's a one-run game, one-run deficit in the sixth inning. Bottom of the sixth, though, Tyler Glasnow is in the game at this point. The Blue Jays would add on to their lead after an Ernie Clement single. That dude was just a monster all postseason. Andres Jimenez, the 9-hitter, doubles into right center to make it 4-2. The Dodgers do get out of the inning, which is obviously massive because at this point there was no outs in the inning. So George Springer struck out, Nathan Lukes lined out, and then Vladimir Guerrero grounded out. So they did get out of the inning. So it remains a 4-2 game. And I can remember at the time thinking, and I think I even tweeted this out, keeping that game to a 2-run lead is supposed to be a huge win. With the way the offense is going, it doesn't feel like it, but you never know. And as you guys probably know, it did help out. We'll get to it. So Eighth inning, it is a 2-run game. Max Muncy hits a home run to right center field. This is off Trey Savage. He came out of the bullpen in this game like a lot of the other starters did for the Dodgers. He actually didn't have his best stuff and his best command. The Blue Jays were just trying their best to get the ball to Jeff Hoffman, their closer in the ninth. Max Muncy goes deep. I said to you guys that I thought Teoscar and or Max Muncy would play a huge role in this game. I don't know if I predicted a home run necessarily, but I said I thought one of those guys would come through. Muncy does, makes it a 1-run game, but you're still fearful that it's not enough. So they'd get out of that inning without any scoring any more runs. So it's a 1-run game. Bottom of the 8th, Blake Snell comes into the game. A leadoff double to Ernie Clement, and then Blake Snell came into the game afterwards. But again, you're thinking we have to limit the damage, limit runs to give ourselves a shot. Ernie Clement leadoff double. After that, though, Andres Jimenez, he lined out. George Springer struck out, and then Davis Schneider also struck out. So credit to Blake Snell. That inning, the Blue Jays could have pretty much put the World Series away, put Game 7 away if they created another rally there like they pretty much did all series. I mean, they were just amazing, and we'll get to that. But and obviously Ernie Clement. So it is a 1-run game going into the 9th inning. Jeff Hoffman is in for the save. After a Kike Hernandez strikeout to start the 9th, the Dodgers are down to their final 2 outs in their season, in the game. 2 outs left to go. Miguel Rojas at the plate. We know that he got the start in Game 6. Dave Roberts was trying to switch things up. Miguel Rojas hits a home run to left field on a 3-2 count to tie the game in the in the top of the 9th of Game 7 of the World Series. I can't even describe what was going through my mind in that moment and just the pure shock. It was like when Rajai Davis hit that home run for the then Indians against the Cubs in 2016. Like, if you had to pick a more the most unlikely guy to hit a home run, it's either between like him and Hae-Sung Kim, I guess. I don't know. I mean, off a right-handed pitcher, the stuff that you wouldn't believe in a movie. Right away, it was looking like the Dodgers were going to lose, lose in 7. Miguel Rojas with the biggest moment of his entire career, his 36 years old. After that, a Shohei flyout and a Will Smith strikeout. So we go to the bottom of the 9th. Blake Snell stays in the game. Vladimir Guerrero is leading off the inning. So while I felt it was amazing that we got out, we tied the game. He still had to get through Vladimir Guerrero. He actually fell down, or he was up, I should say, 3-0 to Blake Snell. Blake Snell threw I think it was a 3-0 changeup. Vladimir Guerrero gets the green light, hits one to dead center. I'll be honest, I thought this ball was like in the second deck, like Bo Bichette's home run. Somehow it dies on the warning track. Then Bo Bichette singles. All right. So at this point, it is bottom of the 9th. The winning run is now on first base. They obviously pinch run for Bo Bichette. He's injured. Then Yoshinobu Yamamoto comes into the 9th. So it's getting crazier and crazier by the minute, this game, with Addison Barger up. Blake Snell actually walked Addison Barger, and then they brought in Yamamoto. So it is first and second with 1 out. Yamamoto comes in. He then hits Alejandro Kirk. So it's bases loaded, 1 out. I'll be honest, at this point, I didn't think the Dodgers were going to win for almost like 8 1/3 inning of this game. But, obviously then I became hopeful when Ross hit the home run. When it was Alejandro Kirk at the plate, or Alejandro got hit by the pitch. Sorry, I'm all over the place. And it was bases loaded, 1 out. I pretty much accepted, I mean, we're going to need a miracle, but this looks like the moment. Dalton Varsho's at the plate. Hits a ground ball right at Miguel Rojas. Hits it sharply. He had to slide forward a little bit. Gets up, throws home to get the force out, and gets the out. IKF is out at home plate. Crazy play. Again, we'll go over it, but if IKF just had a little bit of a bigger lead, or maybe even just runs through the plate instead of sliding, like he slid into home plate, he probably would have been safe. So the Dodgers somehow get an out. It is now bases loaded, 2 outs. Ernie Clement is up. And again, I'll be honest, At that point, you become more hopeful because now the Blue Jays they need a hit to actually win the game. But Ernie Clement, he had like 4 hits in this game, so I was like, this guy's going to bloop a single into left field, and that's going to be it. He hits a hanging curveball out to left field. The outfielders were playing pretty shallow. Kike Hernandez is running back. His back is turned to the field. Andy Pages, who came in for Tommy Edman because of his arm is way better, makes a leaping catch at the wall, crashes into Kike Hernandez. Kike Hernandez fell over. It was like he got tackled. Somehow Pages catches the ball. Somehow the Dodgers get out of it. At this moment, I'll be honest, it felt like someone was messing with me with these crazy, minuscule plays. IKF was out by an inch. Pages, the ball was a foot away from hitting off the wall, or they were a couple seconds away from colliding or something. The Dodgers get out of it, and they have a shot. Now, in the 10th inning, after getting some base runners, they would actually strand some base runners. So Mookie Betts walked, Max Muncy singled, Teoscar Hernandez walked. So it's bases loaded, 1 out. I was feeling at this point like we're going to win this game. Pages, of course, comes up because he pinch hit for Tommy Edman, grounds into a force out, ground ball to short. They throw home. Run does not score. It has remained a tie game, and then Kike Hernandez grounds out. That sucked. At that point, I started to remember what it was like to watch that 18-inning game, and I was like, oh, my God, it's Game 7 of the World Series, and now we're into extra innings, and I'm going to have to watch these tough at-bats and all that, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be honest, at this point, I almost just accepted this is an all-time great game, all-time great series. Whatever the outcome is, we're just a part of history. So Yamamoto goes back out for the 10th, and he puts down the Blue Jays down in order. Jimenez grounds out. George Springer strikes out. Miles Straw, who came into the game, flies out to right. The 11th inning we go in Game 7 of the World Series. Shane Bieber comes in to pitch. And after 2 very quick outs, Miguel Rojas grounds out to third. Shohei Ohtani swung at the first pitch and grounded out weakly to IKF. So right away, it looks like we're going to the bottom of the 11th. Will Smith comes up on I believe, a 2-0 pitch, gets a hanging curveball, hits a home run to left field to put the Dodgers up 5-4. The next guy would get out. I forget who. Freddie Freeman grounded out. So we go to the 9th inning, we go to the 11th inning with the Dodgers having a 1-run lead, 3 outs to win the World Series. I could not believe we were actually 3 outs away. Of course, Vladimir Guerrero is leading off the inning because he is, and he's their best hitter. And of course, he gets to a 3-2 count and somehow doubles into left field. So the tying run right away is in scoring position. IKF, who came in for Bo Bichette, comes up and bunts. He successfully gets a sac bunt down. Vladimir Guerrero goes to third. They get the out at first. The winning run is at the plate. The tying run is on third. A little bit of a not intentional walk to Addison Barger. Yamamoto just threw him like 4 straight splitters to see if he could get him to chase. Barger walks. And I'll be honest, in the moment, I thought to myself, with Alejandro Kirk coming up, I don't love Alejandro Kirk because he's just going to single into right field like he always does and tie the game. But B, I like the matchup better than Barger because if Kirk hits the ball on the ground to somebody who can catch it, it'll be a double play because he is slow as hell. That was my thought. That was my hope. Sure enough, Yamamoto gets him down 0-2. He throws a splitter a little bit down and away. Kirk pulls it on the ground to Mookie Betts, who fields it, steps on second, throws to first for an unassisted double play, and the Dodgers win the World Series Game 7 by a score of 5-4 in 11 innings. After 15 minutes, that was a very long recap, but it was all worth it. The Dodgers win. Wow. I'm not even sure where to start because that was probably the greatest World Series game I've ever watched. Just not even just Dodgers World Series game, just period, the greatest World Series game I've ever watched. One of the greatest World Series games of all time to finish off one of the greatest World Series of all time. Again, I don't even know where to start because I can almost barely still comprehend almost a day later what happened. We'll start with Ohtani. One of the only controversial decisions of this game was Ohtani starting. So, of course, Shohei gets a start on short rest. So, you know he's not going to be out there long. They were kind of mentioning how they were going to let it play out, almost like go batter to batter, see how Shohei feels. But at the same time, that means he has a short leash. So, at any second, he could lose it, and then you got to make a switch. He, from jump, did not have his best command. He actually, to start the game, had fastball command, but every other pitch he was trying to throw, the slider, both sliders that he throws, curveballs, and splitters, he could not get them in the zone. Now, thankfully, he was able to get through 2 innings because he was able to get the fastball in the zone and get some swings and misses on that. But even towards the end of the second inning, he lost command on that pitch as well. It was kind of a miracle that he was able to get through 2 innings and not allow a run. And Dave Roberts sent him back out for the third. Now, I'm not going to be Monday morning quarterback because in the third inning when he sent Shohei back out there, I didn't say to myself, you got to take him out here, like a lot of people were. But, of course, with what ended up happening after leadoff hitter got on, and then I think there was a wild pitch, and it ended up being they had to, intentionally walk Vladimir Guerrero to face Bo Bichette. Again, just like the situation we just talked about with Kurt, it kind of made sense because if Bo Bichette hit the ball on the ground, it was a double play to get out of the inning. So I understood why they intentionally walked Vladimir Guerrero to get to Bo Bichette. Also because why would you want to face Vladimir Guerrero? He's the best hitter in the playoffs. So I understood that, but it clearly was the wrong decision because Shohei just didn't have it and his command was off. And it was a nightmare scenario because, the Blue Jays get a couple base runners and, they string a run across because of Shohei's bad command. You can live with that. But when you try to just stick with him, he'll find it. Let's leave him in there. And then you intentionally walked someone. You took your chance with Bo Bichette, and he absolutely crushed one to dead center. I mean, I think it went in the second deck to dead center. And at that point, how could you not think, well, there goes the season? It was still early in the game, so I still had hope. But when you combine that it was a 3-run bomb, and Rogers Center was literally exploded when that happened. It was like the entire country of Canada was cheering. And then you consider where the Dodgers' offense has been at. It felt like that was done. And like I said, it was like I was thinking to myself, that's the highlight we're going to have to watch for the entire offseason, like that 3-run homer for Bo Bichette. And so that was really the only controversial decision. I could see Dave Roberts thinking, trying to, steal outs. But, it was just the wrong decision. He had no command. You should have saw the first 2 innings. And when he got out of it, he struck someone out. I think it was the 9-hitter, Jimenez, with the bases loaded in the second inning. The at-bats they were taking against him, his command, Dave Roberts, you got to have a quicker trigger in games like that because of how quickly something can get away from you. And Dave Roberts wasn't really, do it. He was just trying to let Shohei settle in, which I get. There's so many pitchers that we've used lately, but it's one game and, the game can get away from you like it kind of did. So I understand why it was just a whole, tough decision, but it almost screwed the Dodgers. So Shohei, it happens. He didn't really have his best command. I'm sure he's gassed. Probably for 8 1/3 of the game, it felt like the Dodgers were going to lose. It felt like a microcosm of the entire World Series. Not necessarily the postseason. I know the entire postseason, the Dodgers didn't really hit all postseason, but definitely in the World Series. Because in the World Series, they just had a lot of bad at-bats. Felt like it was like pulling teeth for them to score a run. Like it was impossible to score a run and to score in bunches. I think they said a stat. I don't remember what it was, but it was basically proof that they barely scored more than 1 run in an inning the entire World Series. Like their runs just did not come in bunches. And whenever they did come. And then on the flip side, the Blue Jays, it was like so easy for them to score or just get base runners. I mean, especially in this game, they had so many innings where they started where the first batter of the inning got on. The leadoff hitter got on. I mean, If there was 11 innings in this game, there had to be like 7 innings where they got the leadoff guy on. It was every inning. The Dodgers did. I don't even know if they had a clean inning in this game, but with the way the Dodgers at bats had continued, they were able to scratch some runs across, but it just felt like the entire game up until that Miguel Rojas home run, it just felt like, man, the way this is gonna end is I'm gonna have to get on here and talk about how the Dodgers offense just didn't do enough. That's what it was. I was preparing in my mind the entire game, because even when they scored runs, like when they scored their first run, Will Smith led it off with a double. And again, it was like the ball looked like it was crushed and it hit off the wall. So it's just like, it's like impossible to just something to go your way. After a couple batters, it was first and third, I think it was. Yeah. And then, Mookie Betts pops up. So now you have 1 out. So it's like now if you hit a sac fly, yes, you bring a run in, but you lost a chance at a big inning, which eventually ended up happening. So it was like after all that in that inning, they just got 1 run, where it seems like the Blue Jays do all that and they get 3 or 4 runs out of it. So the offense, it just, until that Rojas home run, it was just more of the same. Like I said, it was like they were just pulling teeth. It was like you had to pull teeth to get a run. It was impossible. It was so difficult to just get one run. Even though they didn't have horrible swings in this game. Again, in comparison to the other World Series games, this was one of their better games. But that's just how it felt like. I'll go to just some of the moments to end the game. The Miguel Rojas home run. If you want, honest to God, if you want a reaction of my face when that happened, this is exactly what I did when Miguel Rojas hit that home run. Honest to God, that was my reaction. I don't even think I said anything. That had to be the most shocking, surprising home run I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was in the top of the ninth. Obviously, the Dodgers are, 3 outs away from losing. When Miguel Rojas came up, they were 2 outs away. Jeff Hoffman is on the mound. He's a pretty good pitcher, although he did allow a lot of home runs this year. But Miguel Rojas normally hits lefties. He only hit 7 home runs in the regular season. He didn't hit any against a right-handed pitcher all year. So it's just like, I don't know what the numbers were, the odds were for him to hit a home run, but it had to be like lower than 1%. The way that baseball is, and like that was a Game 7 of the World Series, like that will be one of the greatest home runs of all time. Think about a lot of the biggest moments in baseball history, like Kirk Gibson's walk-off was in the World Series. Luis Gonzalez had that walk-off hit against the Yankees for the Diamondbacks. Rajai Davis, I know they ended up winning that game, but that's another really famous home run in the World Series. I mean, there's so many, and the fact that he did that in the 9th inning, like that would have been a massive home run if it was the 6th inning to tie the game. He did that in the 9th inning, 2 outs away from losing. And then, like I said, it was Miguel Rojas. If Shohei Ohtani came up which he would have the next batter if Miguel Rojas got out, and he tied the game, it would have been crazy still because it's the 9th inning. But, it's Shohei who hit a home run. The fact that it was Miguel Rojas, I still can't even comprehend that happened. It's like a loss of words. To begin that at bat, I think he actually swung at a slider in the other batter's box. And, if you would have told me at that point the Dodgers were going to win the game, I don't know how to explain. It was just shocking. There's no other words to describe. There's no other way to make sense of it. It was just amazing. And when that happened, I felt like the Dodgers were going to win. Now, when they went into the bottom of the other innings, like I said, and the Blue Jays were a hit away from literally winning the World Series. Other couple moments with Yamamoto coming in. Miguel Rojas made an incredible play at the plate with that sliding play and then the throw home. Again, another just crazy moment, or just crazy example of how close it was. IKF slides into home plate and he was out by an inch, and there was even a second where Will Smith's cleat kind of came up for a sec. And then it's just funny now looking back, if you're IKF, if he just ran through home plate, he probably would have been safe. Now, it's not to kind of blame him because nobody thinks of that. You always are just, everyone just is prepared to slide into home plate. But it's just kind of funny, like, in that moment, it would be like the ultimate baseball IQ thing to think, if there's a play at the plate, home plate is like first base, obviously. You don't have to slide and stay on the bag. You just have to touch it. If there's a ground ball at the hit at someone, again, the likelihood is that you'll be thrown out anyways, but if there's a play at the plate, I should just run home and just run through the plate. And if he did that, it looked like he would have been safe. That's how close it was. So, and then the Andy Paez catch. Andy Paez came into the game. Of course, he hasn't been playing because he hasn't been hitting the last few games. Comes into the game to center field. Ernie Clement hits that fly ball. When he first hit the ball, I thought it was an out because I could tell the way he hit it. I just was like, oh, that's not getting out or anything. When the camera angle flipped and you could see Kike Hernandez running, looking over his shoulder, I was like, oh my God, that's it. Like, this ball's going to drop in. Andy Paez gets to the ball, jumps up, and hits Kike Hernandez. I just can't help but laugh because, like, Kike laid there like he got shot. And it was like a wide receiver jumping over a defender to catch. Like, it was just, I can't. And when that happened, I just couldn't help but laugh and be like, is this like a nightmare? Like, is someone messing with me? Like, these like moments of holding your breath, like it could have killed me. It was crazy. I still just can't believe that happened. Again, just Andy Paez, shout out to him, come off the bench and make an incredible catch like that. And, it wasn't the prettiest because he tackled Kike Hernandez, but it was the right move. Kike Hernandez was going to try to catch it over his shoulder. So, just amazing. I mean, again, credit to both of them because it just shows, like, in those moments, like, you always think, like, game 7, you're willing to just run through a brick wall to catch that. And that was literally the situation. Like, if I don't catch this ball, we lose the whole thing. So it's just such amazing. One of the best catches of Andy Paez's life, and Kike Hernandez, like, he just crashed into Paez, and then he hit the wall, and it was like, I don't know how they got out of that. So amazing. And then lastly, Will Smith, of course, the biggest home run of his career. And that's saying a lot because he actually just had a lot of big hits in his career. But obviously nothing gets bigger than Game 7 of the World Series. So there's nothing that's going to beat that. And again, another kind of shocking home run because in that inning, I think Shane Bieber threw like 5 pitches. He might have only thrown 3 pitches to get 2 outs. And then when Will Smith hit the home run, that was like the 6th pitch of the inning. Bieber came in and out of the bullpen. He got Miguel Rojas to ground out on like 2 pitches, and then Shohei actually swung at the first pitch and got jammed and grounded out. And I literally was like, oh, here we go with these horrible extra inning at-bats. And the only difference is now this is Game 7. Like, you can't do that or else you're literally done for. And Will Smith, 2 outs. Gets a hanging breaking ball, hit it out. When he first hit it, I was like, that's gone. But then with the way that some of the balls like in this series hung up, there was like a bunch of Freddie Freeman at-bats in this series where he just missed a ball. Tommy Edman earlier in the game just missed one. I think Max Muncy did the same thing. But it got out. And then, so that was a sick moment. But my first thought was like, oh my God, we're in position to win this game. Like, just think, like, an hour prior, whatever it was, like, we went into the 9th inning 3 outs away, eventually 2 outs away from losing the World Series, losing Game 7. And now we have the lead in the 11th inning. It was just crazy. And then Yamamoto goes back out, and obviously he did what he had to do and got the ground ball that he needed. And Joe Davis mentioned this earlier in the World Series. I think it was Game 6. And I didn't know this. I knew Yamamoto in 2025 was one of the best ground ball pitchers in the game. What I didn't actually realize is in 2024, he didn't get a ton of ground balls, and he actually had the highest increase in ground balls from one season to the next, from 2024 to 2025, the highest increase in ground ball percentage. And that's why they won the World Series in that moment, because if, Kirk hits a fly ball there, and he's like one of the best hitters at just kind of giving you exactly what the situation needs. He can shoot up single to right. He can go deep, fly ball. And, it kind of, I wonder why, Kirk wasn't more aggressive. I think he got a first pitch curveball that was right down the middle. He fell down 0-2, and that's what kind of screwed him, is that he probably went into swing mode, like, I can't strike out here. And so when he got that splitter down and away, he kind of panicked and rolled over instead of shooting that ball to right field like he's actually done in this World Series multiple times. Swings over the top of it, hits it right to Mookie, and just poetry. And Yamamoto, man, I got my Yamamoto jersey on. If you guys know, man, again, I'm going to wait to do like a lot of the reflecting and stuff and just try to talk about this game. But if you guys remember going into this year, one of my first few podcasts, when this podcast had just started, I talked about how much of a fan of Yamamoto I was, how much I liked him. I thought he was going to finish top 3 in the Cy Young. I was correct about that. And I also said that I thought he was a really good postseason pitcher. And it's just so sick to see him close out the World Series just like Walker Buehler did a year ago, who was another guy that I loved ever since he came up. And Yamamoto, I mean, not only is it just sick that he had the final out moment, but Yamamoto he threw 96 pitches the night before. And then he came in and threw 34 pitches to close out the game. That doesn't even make sense in my brain. I mean, the only comparison to that is Madison Bumgarner, Randy Johnson, and even those guys like Madison Bumgarner, I think he threw a complete game in the World Series in, I think Game 5 against the Royals, and then he came back in Game 7 and pitched out of the bullpen. Yamamoto it was no day's rest. Like, it's impressive, like, Bumgarner had, a day or two of rest or whatever it was, or I don't remember what it was with Randy Johnson in 2001. I was, 1 year old. Yamamoto had 0 days of rest. I've never even heard of that, to be honest. I've never heard of, you always hear them say, oh, he's on 1 day's rest, 2 days rest. Shohei was on 3 days rest. Blake Snell was on 2 or 3, 2 days rest. Tyler Glasnow, I've never heard of a guy who threw 100 pitches and then comes out the next day on 0 days rest. He didn't have rest. That doesn't even make sense. How did he do that? And, sometimes saying, when people say that it's an all-time this or that's historic, it's, a little overblown. That is all-time. I don't know if you'll ever see that again. How did he do that? It's just crazy. And, of course, he was the World Series MVP. I mean, he deserved to win World Series MVP regardless of the winner. I tweeted that out. Obviously, if Dodgers would have lost, it would have gone to Vladdy or maybe even Bo Bichette for that home run. But, I mean, that is the World Series MVP in every sense of the word. Not just dominant stuff, but, did historic stuff, did, stuff to help the team. I can't even explain how amazing that is to pitch on no days rest and close out the World Series. And the Blue Jays saw him 3 times and still just could not hit him. I think he walked when he walked Addison Barger, or maybe it was a walk he had the night before. One of the last 2 days was the first walk he had all postseason. I mean, man, the Dodgers ace in every sense. Even with what Blake Snell did this postseason. Even with Shohei pitching as good as he did this year, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto at 27 years old is one of the 5 best pitchers, maybe now 3. I think in a lot of people's eyes, he jumped guys like Crochet, guys like Zach Wheeler, guys like Christopher Sanchez. It's Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, Yamamoto. He is the Dodgers ace at 27 years old, and he's one of the 3 best pitchers in the world. And he is now the best big game postseason pitcher in the world. If you had to, if anyone had to pick, a pitcher to start a big game, I think a lot of people would pick him even over guys like Skeens and Skubal. And after those two, there's no doubt it would be 100% Yamamoto. So you can't say enough. You can't sum it up. I mean, one of the most impressive World Series MVPs I've ever seen. Just amazing. Like, I will never forget that. No Dodger fan will ever forget that. And again, a little bit of reflecting, just a little. Yamamoto, who got a lot of flack, not his fault, but who got a lot of flack early in his career 2 years ago for becoming the highest paid pitcher in baseball before ever throwing a pitch in Major League Baseball. When he made his first start in Korea, he didn't pitch well, and he kind of became this polarizing figure of like, man, this is going to be a horrible contract. A lot of people doubting him, and to look back now 2 years later, and he's already a two-time champ. He is not just a good pitcher who is proving that, he was worth the money, but proving that he is one of the best pitchers in the game who's doing it on the highest stage. And then people forget, like, he's only 27 years old. Like, he's younger than Tarek Skubal. He's closer to Paul Skeens' age. Like, he is not, being a pitcher is a little different than hitters, like, especially nowadays, where you see so many young hitters coming up into the big leagues. Like, just a few years ago, it was like Juan Soto and Ronald Acuna were like 19, 20 years old. A couple years later, they were already like two of the best players in the game. And, like Bobby Witt Jr. and all these guys, like, the game is so young, but you forget that a lot of the best pitchers in the game are, usually it's not until like your late 20s, early 30s. Like, just think about the last few years, like the best pitchers in the game. Like I said, Zach Wheeler, Garrett Cole. Like, there's not that many young aces. Skubal's relatively young, but I think he's about to turn 29, so it's not like he's young. Again, like Zach Wheeler is a little bit older. Like, they're not that young. And then it's pretty much just Skeens, who is actually super young. He's only like 22, I think. And then Garrett Crochet of the Red Sox, I think, is 26 or something. Like, he's pretty young. Yamamoto is only 27. Like, he still has 3 more years before he hits 30. It's just crazy. Crazy stuff. All-time fan favorite after 2 years. Seriously. And he's my favorite pitcher to watch. He elevates his game in the postseason. And again, it's not even like Yamamoto. Like, Madison Bumgarner, I hate to say it, and this isn't just because he was a Giant, and I don't like the Giants, but, like, he was a little bit overrated because he was so amazing in the postseason. He was never really, like, a Cy Young caliber pitcher in the regular season. I think he had, like, one good year that was, like, kind of could qualify that level. He was not, not saying he was a bum. He wasn't just some random guy, like, who you never heard of, but then he pitched good in the postseason. But Madison Bumgarner was never really like a top 5 pitcher in the game. He was a very good pitcher, but not, like that. Yamamoto is a legit top 5 pitcher in the game, and then you factor in he is the best postseason pitcher, big game pitcher in the game. Just crazy stuff. And yeah, he deserved the World Series MVP and probably the MVP of the entire playoffs for the Dodgers. But wow, I mean, you thought Freddie Freeman's MVP performance was amazing last year, which it was. But this is like just a different level because Freddie Freeman just like hit a bunch of home runs, which is good. That's what you should do as a hitter when you win the MVP. But like Yamamoto pitching on the short rest, and like he had to save them in Game 6, like they were down 3-2. He had to pitch them to get to Game 7, then to come out of the bullpen. Like, that is value in every sense of the word. It's just amazing. And you could hear it every post-game conference reaction of the players. Like, every guy, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Glasnow, Teoscar, Mookie, like, they all were, like, crediting Yamamoto, and they were all, like, just blown away. Like, the players were blown away. Everybody. I don't understand how he did that. It's just crazy. I don't think I will ever understand that, and I don't know how he did that. It's amazing. So, yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on that game. I can't believe that happened, man. Here we are, man. We started this podcast back in March, I can still remember my very first podcast. I said to you guys, I think the Dodgers have a chance and have the roster and everything to repeat. And here we are. They did it. 7 games. Wasn't pretty the whole postseason. Wasn't the best offensive showing by the Dodgers. And then in this World Series alone, outside of Yamamoto, they did not have the best starting pitching. But the last thing I'll say, not the last thing, but, one thing I'll say is I said to you guys yesterday when I made my podcast talking about Game 6 and eventually Game 7, I said to you guys the reason I was confident that they were going to win was because they were going to throw out there the guys who have carried them to this point. And if the Dodgers were fortunate enough to win Game 7, it was going to be because of the starting staff all postseason. And in this game, they were going to use all of them. That's why I felt confident. They were going to start Ohtani. Then I knew they were going to go to Glass. It kind of was like I thought. They were going to go to Glass now. Then they were going to go to Snell. I wasn't sure if we would see Yamamoto. I kind of thought that would only happen in a tie game, or 9th inning, 1-run scenario. And that's why I was confident that they were going to win. And here we are. So, I told you guys all year, all second half, going into the postseason, I was confident the Dodgers could still win the World Series because of that starting rotation. And it came to fruition. It's just pretty crazy. I'm trying to not go too deep into all these different things because I think I'm going to save that for another pod where we'll talk about, like I said, dynasty, what's next from here, just reflecting on the last few years. I mean, the Dodgers just won their 3rd World Series in the last 6 years. All that stuff. I'll save that stuff. Clayton Kershaw, I didn't even talk about. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, man, I still remember I was at work when that got announced that he was retiring. I can still remember it was on a Thursday, I think, and then he pitched the next day against the Giants on a Friday. So that was when we knew he was going to retire, late in September. And my very first thought was, man, Kershaw's got to go out with a ring. That would be all time. And it did. It happened. He was running in from the bullpen. They showed him with his kids. Everything about it was just storybook, amazing. I mean, Mookie Betts, man, he made that double play to close off the World Series. It's amazing. Like, imagine showing someone at the beginning of the year the final out of the World Series was Mookie Betts turning a double play unassisted. And, Joe Davis has said this on the broadcast before, how when Mookie Betts, this will be the last any bit of kind of foreshadowing or looking back at stuff, reflecting. Everybody knows a couple years ago, Gavin Lux was going to be the Dodgers shortstop. He ended up getting hurt. Miguel Rojas became the shortstop. 2024 came around. Gavin Lux was going to be the shortstop again. He had a lot of throwing issues. They had to have Mookie play short. He had to play short, and he wasn't really that good defensively. He was doing the best he could. He was just kind of learning on the fly, all that stuff. He ended up getting hurt, and then he ended up going back to the outfield. Going into 2025, they announced in the offseason Mookie Betts was going to try to play short again. He worked all offseason. Joe Davis said that Mookie Betts has said, the reason I wanted to work on it all offseason and get better at it, other than the obvious reasons, is that am I going to feel confident enough? Am I going to feel comfortable enough in a postseason game playing shortstop as a career outfielder in the big leagues, playing shortstop, having a ball hit to me in a big spot to make a play? Am I going to feel confident? Am I going to feel like I can do that? And it's amazing to think that that exact moment happened. Ground ball hit to Mookie, got to field it cleanly, got to get to the bag, step on it, throw to first, and you're a World Series champion shortstop. So I just thought that was, again, just sick. It's all amazing. It was all amazing. It was a night and a game that I will never forget. I will never forget feeling like this is over. It's one thing when your team comes back in the regular season. It's one time when your team comes back in the postseason. We saw that in Game 1 against the Phillies. A cool comeback. It's all Those are all sick, amazing things. When it happens in Game 7 of the World Series like that, in that fashion, extra innings, Miguel Rojas hit a home run. There's no other way to describe it than unbelievable. Especially with the way the offense was going. It just, nobody thought that was going to happen. It's just crazy, and I just keep saying it, but yeah. So that's pretty much all my thoughts. It was an amazing game. The Dodgers are going to have their parade tomorrow, which is cool. There's always a lot of great content that comes out of that. A lot of great interviews. I'm sure somebody will get wasted and grab a mic and say something crazy. I remember last year when they had the parade, Kershaw had the most emotional, sentimental speech, and now he's actually retiring. So I can't even imagine what that's going to be like. We also will get to hear like Shohei and Yamamoto grab the mic and talk in English, so that's cool. So it's going to be amazing. So in the next couple days, I will figure out a pod to make, kind of talking about a whole bunch of stuff about this World Series going forward. And then eventually, off season. I mean, it's officially off season time now. That's a couple pods away, but I'll talk about free agency and trades and all that kind of stuff, and where do we go from here. But amazing. It was an amazing season for us on Talking Blue. I just wanted to thank everyone for sticking with me. It was a fun year. First time I ever got to do this stuff. I'll never forget that the first year I did a podcast on the Dodgers, they won the World Series. Back-to-back champs. The first time since 2000, 25 years ago, when the Yankees were in the midst of a three-peat. It's the first time that's ever happened. It's the first time it's happened in 25 years. So that's amazing. So I just would like to say to everyone who's a Dodger fan, enjoy these moments, man. Enjoy these moments, because you never know when this will happen again. I think we're in the golden era of the Dodgers right now. The fact that they've made the playoffs for 13 straight years, and now you can finally throw on top of the 13 years 3 championships. For the longest time they had that long postseason streak but hadn't won, and then it was they just won 1 and it was in the shortened season. Well, now they have 3, and they are in the midst of a dynasty. I put it out on social media. A Dodger dynasty is upon us. I truly believe that. We'll see if they could go, get three in a row or whatever. That's a long ways away. I'm not even going to begin to talk about that stuff. But when it comes to this World Series in this Game 7, it was an all-time World Series. Shout out to the Blue Jays. That was really tough. I feel bad for them. I always try to put sports in perspective, and there are other things in life that mean way more than a bunch of dudes playing a sport that don't even know you exist. But you can't help it. It's what being a fan is, especially someone like me who covers them, does a pod on them, talks about them every day. It's hard to not become invested and, emotionally attached to their success or failure. So, you always put things in perspective when you compare sports to just everyday life. But there were some people I saw tweeting things like, man, if you're a Blue Jays fan, how do you even continue on with sports? How do you even continue on with baseball? And I hate to say it to rub it in, but I almost agree. I don't know how you survive. You were 1 strike away from making it 2 outs. You were 2 outs away from winning the World Series, and you ended up losing. That is tough, and I feel bad for Blue Jays fans, especially because, again, I hate to rub it in more, but everyone also always likes to think, we'll be back here. Sometimes you only get 1 opportunity. There are a lot of other teams who only get 1 opportunity. That's why Dodger fans should enjoy this. It's not given. It's not a guarantee they'll be back here next year or anything like that. So that's why it would hurt a lot for a Blue Jays fan. But, and in some ways they played better than the Dodgers in a lot of ways, actually. I can't completely say they outplayed the Dodgers because they had opportunities to win and didn't come through. And so because of that, you didn't completely outplay the Dodgers because the Dodgers came through in a lot of moments, But they almost did outplay the Dodgers. Their offense is incredible. And then the difference in the series is how, with how they kind of matched the Dodgers was great starting pitching. So they were damn close. There was multiple times throughout the series that I accepted that the Dodgers weren't gonna repeat. It was gonna be difficult. I mean, you hear it all year. Every time a team wins the World Series and then they ask, can a team repeat the next year? It's always, man, is it hard to repeat? It's hard to repeat. It's hard to repeat. And obviously the proof's in the pudding because it's been a quarter of a century. But hey, this Dodger team is historic, and they just put that to bed. Now you're not going to hear any of that. You're not going to hear every year that a team won the World Series growing up for me. I always just would hear, it's been this many years. It's been this many years since we had last time we had a repeat every year. And now we won't have to hear that. And it's our team that, has that repeat. So again, I just wanted to thank everyone. It was a wild season, a lot of ups and downs. But it ends up with a World Series again. The third time I've gotten to see them win the World Series in my life. And it's just amazing, and it was an amazing game. Of all the World Series, though, that was the craziest one, and that was the craziest game, given that it was what happened, and it was Game 7, and those moments I will never forget. So as always, thank you guys so much for listening. Go Dodgers. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications. Follow us on all social media. At Talking Blue Pod, I promise there's going to be 1,000 TikToks dropping about all the cool moments that happened from my TikTok at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick. A lot of people are retweeting my stuff. I've been posting stuff about Kershaw, about Mookie Betts, about Yamamoto, everything. Follow me at Talking Blue Nick on X, and then on Reddit as well at competitive-week8715. A lot to look forward with the Talking Blue Pod. Off-season stuff coming up. Going to kind of recap and, just review the entire season and all that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, eventually off-season stuff. It's the month of November. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Dodgers, third time that they've won the World Series in the last 6 seasons.